Okay, first I want to talk about how to consider AI in your buying decision. Then I want to walk you through a survey of AI applications that I looked at to formulate some of this information, and then we'll reach a summary and conclusion. If we have a little bit of time at the end, which I don't think we will, we'll go through how I think compression will play out with AI. So when Dan gave me this brief, he said, deal with this from the encoding stage on out. So nothing in production. It was all from preprocessing, encoding, packaging, including captioning, and then some advertising stuff as well. So that's kind of what I looked at. But obviously compression is near and dear to my heart, and I spent a lot of time on that, but I'm not sure we'll get there. The best way to consider AI in a streaming-related product and service is to ignore it completely. And the rationale is that AI has made significant contributions, and we're going to be looking at a lot of them, and that's only going to grow in the future. But you buy a whole product or a whole service, and it doesn't matter if it's powered by AI or, as I was telling my daughter, a gasoline engine. You're going to have buying criteria. It's going to be a required ROI or some measurable benefit. If it meets that benefit, you're going to buy it. If it doesn't, you're not going to buy it. And whether or not it has AI, it's kind of irrelevant. There's been a lot of, we've heard about AI for years, and until ChatGPT came out, it wasn't real for a lot of us because we just didn't see it. And then when ChatGPT came out, it became scary real for a lot of us. But as we'll see, AI has been working its way through the compression world for a long, long time. Since the earliest mention I saw was in a streaming media article back in 2016. So it's been coming, we just didn't pay attention to it because we thought it was all hype, and now it's here. And again, you can evaluate the whole product like you always did, and if you're interested in AI, here are the questions I went through when I spoke to the companies that I spoke to. In order to, I took this on, I knew a little bit about AI, I knew a little bit about AI and compression, but I wanted to talk to actual companies who were using it because it's always a great way to get educated on how they're actually using AI is to talk to them. So I interviewed I published the session on LinkedIn. I asked companies to get in touch with me. A lot did. Some didn't qualify because I'd already had their use case. A lot did qualify. I spoke to maybe 12 companies, 13 companies, and actually recorded podcasts of them, and those podcasts are available on YouTube, and I'll have the links in the presentation. And I tried to understand what they were doing with AI, and as I went through the conversations with them, the questions kind of evolved into questions that I thought would help me determine whether their use of AI was real, what the benefit of using AI was, what the purpose behind AI was, and these are the questions I'm going to share right here. This is a mind map. The PDF of the mind map is available on the URL. I don't know what Dan's going to do with the PDF of this. Anybody who wants the PDF can email me at jan.ozer@gmail.com, and I'll send it to you. So I'm Jan Ozer, so it's jan.ozer@gmail.com, should be pretty easy. This was the question list. I wanted to go over a couple questions because I thought they were worthy of consideration. One of the first questions I asked was, is this open source or is this homegrown? So a lot of the AI that we're seeing out there, particularly in the area of captions, is open source, and everybody knows about Whisper. Now, just because it's open source doesn't mean there's not value, but you really have to ask the next question, what are you doing with the product that makes it more valuable than any other open source implementation of this? And my ex-company, NetInt, they had very, very high scalability and throughput because they're an ASIC-based transcoding company, so that was their value add. But you really have to be concerned about what's your ability to move this technology forward as compared to one that's homegrown. I like to ask what type of AI was involved, differentiating between machine learning, which is we've seen machine learning in video compression space since, at least when Netflix came out with VMAP. That was the first time that kind of raised our consciousness. That they used, it was a machine learning capable metric, which means it got smarter and really made it a whole lot better than anything else that was out there. So that was, I think that announcement was December 2015. And then generative AI, I think, and we're going to see some examples of the technologies that I talked about, and generative AI takes it a whole nother couple of levels because you can ask general questions in plain English, and it actually generates information to send back to you. Doesn't mean it's always right, but it's going to get better over time, and most of the time it is right. But I asked what type of AI it was. Did the product or service exist before AI? I wanted to understand, did they just bolt it on? If it existed before, what was the benefit that AI brought? And how they validated that. And then relating to compression, we're going to look at some pre-processing products that say they improve the quality of the video. And whenever you hear improved quality, you automatically start thinking preserving creative intent. Suppose the producer wanted it dark and murky, suppose they wanted a lot of film grain. So that's one of the questions that you want to ask. And then the bandwidth savings thing is such a landmine because, bandwidth savings relates to, which codec you're comparing it to, which implementation of that codec, what content, what resolution, and very few companies in this space go through a lot of academic type research papers to actually define all that out. And even if they did, it wouldn't be your bitrate, it wouldn't be your codec, it wouldn't be your command strings. So I'm not criticizing these companies. There's just not a lot they can do on the marketing side to answer questions, which brings us back to, you're going to have to test it yourself. And the bottom line with compression, you have to ask these questions, but I didn't find the results terribly useful. Again, very few academic peer-reviewed studies. Even if they did exist, I went through that rant. And you're just going to have to test it yourself if you're a company of a certain size. If you look at a company like Harmonic, they've got 100 people using their transcoding system, or 100 plus, that's a pretty good bet that they're delivering the benefit they're talking about. But a lot of the newer companies who are debuting newer technologies, if you're a reasonably sized company and your job is on the line if you pick the wrong compression technology, you're just going to have to test no matter what the spec sheets say. And again, AI is only going to be a component of that product. It's not going to be the whole product, and you care about whole product performance. So here's the AI companies and some others that I spoke with, and they started off with pre-processing. We see Digital Harmonics and Visual on, excuse me for that. Encoding companies, I spoke to Harmonic, Visionular, BitMovin for super resolution, a company called Codec Market, a company called Deep Render, which is a wholly AI-based codec, and then I spoke to Interdigital as well, who have a AI compression toolkit. Captioning, there's a lot of companies with real-time captioning out there. I spoke with Intera. They have some interesting technology that we saw in Baton Caption, but there are other companies out there. Nanocosmos has some whisper-based transcription. NetInt, my old company, does as well, and Ampere is co-developing that technology with NetInt. In terms of quality, I spoke to IMAX, who are using the visual system technology that they have. We'll cover that in a moment. Customer experience, media distillery. We'll look at what they do. And you can also see Amagi, who has, and that's misspelled as well, sorry about this, who has some interesting products in that area. And then analytics, we looked at BitMovin and Operative, spent the most time on BitMovin. And AdOps, kind of the end of the line, actually getting paid for your video, I spoke to a company called Operative, and we'll see a demo of what they're doing. So, and you guys know this because you've been walking around the halls and you can't turn in any direction and not see AI, but it really is involved more or less in every place in the ecosystem and every place in the workflow that you're using for your video and your monetization of that video. So I'm going through the companies in this order, kind of this way along the chain. Digital Harmonic, their product is called Keyframe. That's a preprocessor with both quality improvement and bandwidth reduction. So these are technologies within the product that you can enable or disable. So if you want to improve quality, you can turn that on. If you want to preserve creative intent, you can turn that off. But there's also a bandwidth reduction element that they make pretty strong claims on. This is available as a product, not a service. It did exist before AI, so AI was bolted on, but the benefits of AI include improved performance in both modes, better quality, more bitrate reduction using these techniques here. Their bold claim is up to an 80% bitrate reduction with no loss in quality, and that's measured with both PSNR and MOS. And they also claim to make the video quality look better than the original source, which anybody who's ever played with the contrast adjustments in FFmpeg or similar tool knows that that's very possible. You don't have to be a genius. The question is, is that what the director would want you to do if you're dealing with premium content? And it works with all codecs. The implementation is it's what they call a bump in the wire. So it's a GPU-based system that sits in the video chain before the encoder. It's totally encoder agnostic. And the GPU-based system they were talking about were, in the $25,000 range, and they had, fixed throughput numbers that you need to be concerned with if you've got an ASIC-based transcoding system on the other end that can spit out 300 1080p 30 streams. So there are some implications here. And for more information, here's the URL for the company, no major surprise there. And the YouTube video podcast episode that I interviewed in this case it was the CTO, and you'll see the URLs on all the slides from all the technologies. Visual Line Optimizer, got the name right. In this case, this is another optimization tool. This is a preprocessor. It's got both quality improvement and bandwidth reduction. Bills itself more as a frame-by-frame content adaptive encoding technology. The keyframe product doesn't interface with the encoder. You basically just set the encoder at very aggressive settings, and it delivers the best quality it can to that encoder and out from the encoder. In this case, the Visual Line Optimizer actually integrates with your encoder via the API and adjusts the bit rate and some other parameters up and down depending on what it judges the complexity of the individual frame to be. It's available as a product. It did exist before AI. Claims were improved performance in both modes. When I say both modes, I mean quality and bitrate reduction. Their bold claim is up to 70% bitrate reduction with no loss in quality, and that's measured by VMAF. And again, quality improvements to better than the source. It is also codec agnostic. Again, implementation is via the API, so it actually integrates with your encoder and adjusts the bit rate of the file for every frame. And their claim is that because it's reducing the bit rate so significantly, it doesn't hurt the throughput because the encoder is doing less work. It actually helps increase scalability and throughput. And for more information, here's the details. And again, my name is Jan Ozer. Email me at janozer@gmail.com and I'll send you a PDF. I'm sure Dan has plans to disseminate these in other ways, but if you want it sooner, just go ahead and email me at any point. This is the Harmonic product. This is Pure IQ. Pure is the encoder. IQ is the AI-based encoding technology. And their big claim, or one of the big claims, which gives it a lot of weight, is the fact that it's used by over 100 customers today. It's available as both a product and a service. Pure did exist before AI, but IQ is the AI element in the Pure encoder. The benefit of AI is improved compression efficiency. The bold claim is 50% greater efficiency than open source. They don't really spell out which codecs, which metrics. They just point to the 100 companies and say, well, these guys bought it, so it must work. And that's a great argument. Implementation is via appliance or a cloud service. And for more information, here are the digits. And this is an interesting article. I was looking back at how long ago Harmonic claimed to be working with AI. This is the 2016 article I referred to a few minutes ago. And we saw the term in-loop artificial intelligence in the streaming media article back in 2016. So Harmonic has been working on AI in their encoding product as far back as that. Visionular is another pure codec company. They sell 264, 265, and AV1 codecs. It's available both as a product or a service. They've got a cloud encoder they license their codecs. It did really not exist before AI. They started some of the AI integrations with all of their codecs. And again, they're claiming improved compression efficiency. and up to a 50% bit rate reduction compared to open source implementations of the same codecs. Here's their information. And I found this interesting. I don't know when Visionular was founded, but this was an article from September 2021. It's actually not an article, it's a white paper. And if we see Zoe Liu at the bottom in the center, she is the president of Visionular. So she has been studying AI since at least 2021 when she published, so presumably she was looking at it a long time before this paper was developed. So again, these codec developers have been looking at AI much longer than since ChatGPT came out. Codec Market is a new service. Actually, it's not new. It's newly announced in a big way. It's been running in kind of stealth mode with one major unidentified social media client. It's an integrated cloud platform that includes the encoder, the player, content management system, and CDN. It's available as a service. It started integrating AI from the start. Their AI is an open source advanced implementation of VMAF. So we know VMAF is a quality metric that you apply to a file after encoding. They found a way to apply VMAF during encoding to provide the content adaptive function that we spoke about a few minutes ago. So they're adjusting the bit rate of the file using VMAF to achieve a consistent quality level, which they're targeting top rung around 96 VMAF scores. Their bold claim is 30% more efficient than open source, and it's a cloud service, as I mentioned. Here's their information. Super resolution is a technology that's not something I really gave a lot of thought to. When I spoke to Bitmovin, I said, who cares about super resolution? And the answer is anybody who's got old movies or old TV shows or anything that they want to make look good on 1080p or 4K television sets or smartphones. So it's a huge market. If you do this well, it's going to make a lot of videos look a whole lot better than they otherwise would. So what is super resolution? It's scaling at ultra high quality. Why? Because of the low resolution source. It's available as a service from Bitmovin. It did exist before AI, but they have several AI implementations, including some homegrown, some open source. And obviously the benefit is improved quality. And it's a component of their transcoding service. This is something you get if you use their transcoding service. And want to point out that their implementation of this, they wrote this article back in 2020. So again, there were compression companies looking at AI long before ChatGPT came out. And I don't know what you guys can see. Hopefully you can see the benefit. On the left is the bicubic, which is a pretty fast, quick implementation in FFmpeg. On the right, we see the super resolution-based implementation. So you've got a lot more sharpness, a lot more striking of a picture. Deep Render, they've got the pretty bold claim, the world's only AI-based codec company. So they are developing a codec from scratch using AI, and that's going to be a product. Didn't exist before AI. Their bold claim is 45% greater efficiency than VVC. It's available for implementation as a license. And for more information, here's the president.
Actually, we've been recently comparing to VVC, so I can comment a bit on that, and I can say we're seeing about 15 to 20% coding gains on top of VVC. And so, I mean, for us, we're pretty happy with that because it hasn't been that long since we've been working on it, and we still think there's a lot of room to grow because AI-based codecs are still new, relatively new, and internally we have internal research which suggests that coding gains, there's still a lot more to come. We're seeing about 30% year-on-year improvements, and by the end of the year, we hope to be at least 45% better than VVC.
Interdigital Compress AI, let me run through this and then I will have their product person tell us about it. It's a PyTorch library and evaluation platform for end-to-end compression research. It's an open source tool. Didn't exist before AI. And it's basically a tool that codec developers can use to create a totally new AI-based codec or add AI components to existing codecs.
All right, so Compress AI is directly available on GitHub. You can find it by Googling Compress AI. And as I mentioned, it provides you with all the tools if you want to start with end-to-end AI-based codecs. and helps you compare your methods with state of the art. So on the left side of this slide, you see that it includes all the modules you need, load your data, make all the transforms, and the more complicated compression-related modules that are the entropy layers. It also provides you with pre-trained models. I will come back to this. And on the right side, you can see the second part of the goals I mentioned earlier, which is you have all the tools you need to evaluate apples to apples your compression method with existing ones, including all those traditional video compression standards and learned methods that are also implemented within Compressé. You can train your model with different quality metrics.
Here's Interrobaton Captions. This is an AI-based captioning tool. It's available as a product, and it's a mix of open source and homegrown captioning technologies. It did exist before AI, but AI makes it faster, better, and gives it more features. I just want to show you a little bit of what they're doing with AI. This is natural language processing, NLP. They're actually delivering captions that are broken out a little bit more naturally so that they read more naturally and I think are more understandable. So that's a pretty subtle benefit, but I think it's a real benefit if you really care about people understanding what the captions are supposed to be delivering. IMAX viewer score. Interesting, I did Facebook. I didn't do Facebook. I did LinkedIn posts for all the 11 podcasts I put out there. By far the one that had the most views was for the IMAX viewer score. I have no idea, but I guess everybody cares about video quality. What IMAX bought Sim Plus. They now have that released as the IMAX viewer score. It's available in 2 products. Stream Aware gives you real-time quality monitoring and reporting. Stream Smart is not a pre-processing tool, but it actually adjusts the encoder settings upwards and downwards dynamically so that you can save bandwidth. So it's another tool that is not a preprocessor, it's more of a real-time content adaptive encoding feature. Did exist before AI. Interestingly, the benefits of AI and their implementation was it took the correlation with human perception from 90% to 94%, which means that if they tell you a score, there's a 94% chance that that's going to exactly match what the MOS score was. And that's probably at the very limit of what's possible, because if you ask me 3 times in a row if I like the video, there's a good chance the answers might be different. So 94% is actually really good. And they're saying within the context of Stream Smart, they can reduce bitrate by 15% or more. And their score, just like Sim Plus, it's 0 to 100, same kind of reference as VMAF. What they do that VMAF doesn't, or at least the open source version of VMAF, is they do HDR, and they also do device support, and they also do they can compare files with different frame rates, which VMAF can't do. Media distillery, this is one that I want to show you. The particular application I want to talk about is distilling topic in the context of a live video for better viewing.
And what you see here, if I scroll through the timelines, you see in this case that it's about cycling. The next one is about hockey, that's field hockey, and it's about a Grand Prix. So we actually segment or chapter the content, and we try to find also the transition in the video where one topic stops and where the next topic starts, and try to create a meaningful title of that part, so that the viewer has a better understanding. Is this something I would like to see? Or maybe I'm not interested in hockey. I can quickly skip to the next topic. So what it allows for our customers is basically have long form content, but use it in a short form viewing.
So that's something they apply to live transmissions. When people watch it on VOD, they've got very good segmentation, and they've got very accurate titling and description. That's much better than you can get just by using the transcripts.
Content, but use it in a short.
Bitmovin Analytics. What Bitmovin did, sorry to rush through this, is they basically start with the analytics and they show those to you, but then you can click a button and you can see the AI session interpreter, which tells you what those analytics mean. And this is generated on the fly. So if you have a bitrate problem or a bandwidth problem or a quality problem, they're going to say, this is what you should do to fix that. So they're not only showing what the data points are, they're telling you what to do with those data points. And that's done with machine learning, not generative AI, but generative AI is coming.
share my screen and bring you into the BitMovin dashboard. So that's a basic view of our dashboard that each and every of our users can access. It's just looking at demo data, and we are already deep in our analytics product in what we call session tracking. So we are looking at anonymized sessions for a specific video. And if we look into a specific session, we see a session visualization and also nice and shiny button called Help Me Understand. And that's where our AI hides behind. And now in real time, it analyzes the data on the session. And as you can see, you get an output of the session with a short summary, a few words, how the session was taking place. And then we already jump into the analysis, which I think is the most important part. Look at the engagement, the quality of experience, and the quality of service. Those are the three categories we use for a standing session. And then last but not least, our recommendations. And based on the data that our session interpreter had to look at for these sessions, we derive 2 recommendations, which would increase the quality of experience for your end users.
And then this is operative. They're the people who help companies in the media space sell ads for their inventory. And what they're doing with generative AI is they're generating proposals based upon emails and voicemails. And let me just show you the video.
But the last thing that I'm going to show here is the most exciting, and it's actually a multi-part sort of capability that we've been working on. And so in conjunction with Adeline, which is our AI assistant, we built something we call Sales Copilot, really an automatic plan or order or deal generator. So it'll automatically generate a proposal for me. To trigger this one, I'm going to trigger it from Adeline now, and I'm actually going to talk to Adeline to have it run through the process. Create a proposal for King.com. They want to spend $97,000 in digital. They have a target CPM of $17, and they want to run in Q1 of 2024. Okay, great. So it listened to me. It interpreted everything that I was asking it to do. And Adeline is doing natural language processing, and it's understanding I asked it to create a proposal. And so now it's taking all of this information and it's sending it to what we call Sales Copilot. Sales Copilot was built to basically take unstructured data, so unstructured requests, to build proposals. And those unstructured requests can come in any form. The example that I'm giving here is I basically just gave it a very simple request. I gave it an advertiser. I said how much they want to spend. I gave them a target CPM, and I gave them a date range, and it fed that into Sales Copilot. And you'll see here it took, 15, 20 seconds. It came back and it said, I created a proposal for you. Here it is. And here's the ID in the system. So now if I click this, it's going to take me directly into AOS, and it's going to open up this proposal that it just created for King.com. So here we go, King.com digital proposal. It gave it a name. I asked for digital inventory. In AOS, we could do both. This one said, okay, we're just going to do digital. Chose the advertiser from my accounts and contacts, set the buying agency, knowing that the buying agency for King.com is OMD New York. It set some date ranges, chose a calendar, chose some other information, and defaulted what it could on the header here based on what it knows, and created this new deal for me without me clicking a thing.
I really do want to make the point, ML integration is old news. It's not new news. We saw examples going back to 2015 with VMAF, 2016 with Harmonic. Most of the short-term benefit from pre-filtering, content adaptive, is going to come from AI integrated into codecs compatible with existing players. It just takes a long time for new players to get into the market. Midterm effect, none of us really cares about video for machines, but that's starting to be a huge market with autonomous cars. New AI codecs for broadcast and TVs, 6 to 8 years out, if not longer. Generally, generative AI in particular could significantly enhance the utility and usability, as we saw with the operative product.